Hello. Wow. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus one more time. This is probably my second reference of my interest in serving you as a representative of the voice of love to its highest degree, unless someone else is higher. And so I'm making that second presentation to you. I want to share some stuff with you that I'm sure is common amongst you all. My friend, a pastor of a church, Church of God in Christ, Star of Bethlehem, I believe it's called, came and took me out to breakfast this morning, and another one of his friends that got together, one of his fishing buddies, and so we went out. We were eating and carrying on conversation, as you can imagine we would. And I'm sitting there as the conversation is going between the others, because my thought is wondering, how in the world can I interject something about this wonderfulness of God that I'm speaking of to these individuals. I'm thinking about the pastor who is basically in a tradition. He follows the book. He's a bookie. Whatever the book says, that's what he tries to stick to. And me not coming from a book, you can make it some shaking stuff happening there. So I have thought about this, and perhaps I'm holding off, and I'm thinking about his friend. I don't really know how his friend would take a conversation like this, but I'm looking for a moment to interject. And that moment came. And I asked him, I said, you know, the other day I heard Trump say that the nation, the people, they really got nothing else to vote for but him. And that just stood me straight up. And I wanted to make sure that I made the statement that there is something else other than Trump to vote for, to stand up for. And I call it God. God is better than Trump. God is better than the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And I stand up. And for anybody else who know it can stand with me if they want to, but if you don't know it, I don't expect you to stand. And I ain't mad with you. I didn't always know what I was talking about. This is something that just happened after a lot of education, a lot of being brought through the wilderness by the spirit of love. And it allows me to stand, as this brother asked me. Well, religion and the state, you can't mix that. Politics and religion don't go together. You can't match that. And I was so glad he made that statement, because I totally agree. Politics and religion, true. I'm not talking about the games that people play. I'm talking about a respect for the most, and that most high, and that's the most high God. That's the kind of spiritual stuff I'm talking about. When you are walking in darkness, you think you're walking in light until you see the light. And when you see the light, you recognize that you truly been walking in darkness. We all grow up walking in darkness. That means we are not being told the truth. We're being told what they want us to know, formed and shaped to act like they want us to act, and do what they want us to do, and find comfort in doing it. And they work together with you, work together with us to make sure that everything works out like they want it to work out. Okay, we're still walking in darkness, but we think that we're walking in the light. We have, as a result of this walk, we have a whole bunch of stuff that is despicable. We recognize that, and we, don't know why, except we've been trained to think that it's another's fault. It's race fault. It's economic fault. It's all of these kinds of faults. And the pain and suffering is there is strong. And so you walk into the light. When you walk into the light, you see something totally different. So to get back to the point that I was trying to make, because I'm seeming to be selling off someplace, they do not mix. Politics, what I wanted to say in that whole analogy there, politics is the way of man. And that basic way is a concoction. It's a concoction of claiming something that does not belong to man. That resources of the earth, they do not belong to man. But in the dark past, whoever gets it, and it belongs to them, because it belonged to no one else until they got it and claimed it. So now it belongs to them. And you the people, well, we need something of one another. And so they concocted a way, without me going into it, that creates the kind of anxiety that we experience every day in our lives. It doesn't matter what level we work at. Unless you are on that side making the plans to mess over people, unless you're receiving those kind of rewards in relationship to what you committed yourself to do to harm others so that you and a few more can live good, well, you're probably having a good time. But the light exposes you for what you are. Because what the light says is that all of the resources of the earth belong to the one that made them and is responsible for their being here. That concoction that you came up with was okay in the darkness. In the darkness, we accepted it. We didn't know better. We didn't even know anything about a God. But now we know that there is a God and that God is responsible for all the resources of the earth. We also know that that God is responsible for every last one of us being here on earth. We also know that because of that, that God cares enough about us to prepare for us that we can survive. That's a loving God. And makes it necessary that we engage ourselves in the process of the survival, giving us all ownership in all of that medicine that makes us perfect, that medicine that keeps us in peace. We all work and give our share to make that medicine the dynamic medicine that it is. And we accept it, and it cures us, and now we can see the darkness. Why? Because we see that by exercising the gifts that we've been given, we are directly involved in the creative process of all the resources that allows our dreams to come true. Now we see that. We see that. And we know that you don't have to lie, you don't have to cheat, you don't have to steal, you don't have to threaten, you don't have to talk terror, you don't have to worry about guns, you don't have to worry about running and scattering like mice when a sound go off like a gun. You're free from that. Why? Because everybody got what they have been looking for. And they find out it is wrapped up in that everybody else does. This is a fantastic way to see life. No jails and prisons necessary. But we didn't know that. No one ever told us that. No one ever told us that. We thought that God was somebody that took away our joy. Don't you know that dancing comes from God? Don't you know that music comes from God? Don't you know that celebration comes from God? Don't you know that rejoicing comes from God? And don't you know that freedom comes from God? And life comes from God. So don't let anybody continue to tell you that God is a deadbeat, telling you can't wear lipstick. You think God cares whether you wear lipstick? It's your love that is precious to God. You think God cares about whether you wear pants or not? It's your love that God is focusing on. You think that God is so petty as that? No, my friends, no. The light teaches us that there is a separation between politics. There is a separation between the spiritual, the one with God, religion, if you want to call it that. You see, you were once a part of the politics in the dark, but you walked into the light, and now you are a part of the other, what we call spiritual. We're a part of that light. And the light, my friends, is medicine. Medicine. And it serves that purpose of curing whatever it is that is the problem. And so, yes, there's a separation. But you got purpose now. And what is your purpose? Your purpose is to resolve the problems of life. Why? By loving. By representing the truest nature of God you can even ever imagine. So, being like that, I expect everybody who's truly spiritual to separate themselves from the politics of life. Politics of life, man doing the things that he is doing is causing all the stuff that's going on. Spiritual side, you see that. You're trying to say you got to teach the world that God's way is better than that way in that. And here it is. The difference is that God's way works for everyone. There are no losers in God's way. No losers. And you know what that means in comparison to what's going on today. So, how can you say you're a Republican or a Democrat or in that political thing as it is when that's a dead seed? And it is look at it like this. It is a cancer to life. It is a cancer to life. So there's no way you, the medicine, can separate. I mean, you got to control. There was a time when somebody else can control and can keep you from doing what should have been doing. But now the freedom, the joy of life have come. And you recognize that within your own walk of life, it depicts and reflects everything that should be done, because the essentials for making the light shine in the darkness is expressed in those essentials that qualifies you to stand up and shine the way you shine. And so, having said that, I told my friend that yes, they don't jive together, but just because they don't, you don't put the light out. No, you expose what's hidden in the dark. You reflect what others can't see in the dark so that they can see it. You got a mission. So that's basically what this campaign is about. I really got going. I love to talk to you sometimes when I don't have anyone else to talk to. I don't have a congregation. I don't have any of that. I'm just speaking to you as though every last one of you are my audience. And I really want you to know that there is a true God that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't feel. But the evidence of that God is all around us. And the truth of life is amongst us too, if we are pure enough and honest enough to admit to ourselves that that's what we seek. Seeking will draw what you're seeking. So all I'm saying is it's out there for every last one of us. For me, I'm great. I'm grateful for what God has done for me. But I also know this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many out there that God is going to use, that's going to take us a step higher every time. And you bet your last money that a true person of God is learning and so glad that you are reflecting what he didn't know or she didn't know, but is confirmed by the outcome. So, thank you. But right now, I got this thing to do. And I need to understand that no matter what I'm saying to you, the darkness oftentimes run deep. And so many would say, if you know that, why do you stand and pretend like you don't know it? And I have to say this. I stand not to call you to do something you can't do. I don't really even call you to think about it. I think you already know. You just need to see it. You need somebody to see it. That's why your commentators sit and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. They're trying to stimulate, motivate, to get somebody up off their seat and go do it so they can see it. You know, it's always somebody else. But the truth of life is that once you walk into the light, you become that somebody else. And you're all doing what the Spirit is leading you to do, and it's all interconnected. Let me see if I can close this thing out, because it seems like I'm going to go head on and go someplace else with it. And I don't really want to do that after at least, 16 minutes? Yeah, that's kind of long for a lot of people who got a lot of different things to do. But until that brother, and to any of those of you out there who agree that trying to put religion and politics together just don't work. In fact, it is against the law. There's separation between the church and the state. And all of that is good, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing wrong with that, because we're all a part of the state. We're not automatically a part of the church. But if we step into the peripherals of the church, then we're no longer of the politics or the state. And the thing that separated you did not destroy you. It is the thing that freed you. And by being free, that allows you to do different things. But this freedom is not just a freedom that someone bought. This freedom is not just a freedom that someone took. This is a freedom that is set from God. And this freedom requires something of you to be maintained. And what is that is required? For you to have compassion for others. For you to never ever be satisfied while somebody else is going through. In fact, you can't. You won't. Now, there are those of you who are totally committed and connected. But you can do these things. You can just go right on by and not be moved by anything. And you don't know why. You know, if there's anything wrong with it, why? You're just as good as anybody else. And the truth is, you are absolutely as good as anybody else. No one can judge you based upon what you do, because you can bet your last money they got their own things that they do that is just as despicable as that they're trying to attach to you. That calls us. We all still wallowing in the dark. I mean, I'm still talking about the dark. Well, I'm going to stop this right here, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta go and talk to my sweetheart, and I'll be talking with you later. Goodbye.